Hello, and welcome to the fourth installment of my student teaching video blog. This week, although I was not in front of the choirs as much as I have been in the previous week, or as I will be in the upcoming weeks, I had a lot of interesting philosophical experiences this week at my time at the high school. But the first experience of those was actually my opportunity to go observe both of the middle school teachers at Hillside Middle School, which is the only middle school within the district. I was very excited to observe both teachers, but especially Rick Petrosky. The reason I was so anxious to observe Rick is because he runs a very similar program to that of Derek Cressman, who I spent my secondary practicum time with, and created a composing unit with. Both Derek and Rick's classrooms are centered around a GarageBand type program. Rick uses GarageBand while Derek uses a PC version called Mixcraft. Um, and they both come from the world where I currently reside in, which is views music as a dichotomous thing, as both an abstract and a decoder of other abstracts such as emotion, morals, ethics, culture, etc. And they come, and although they view music as a dichotomous entity with both those things, they, because of their position as middle school teachers, where their students, this is the last time they're going to be forced to be in a music class. Their philosophy centers more around music as a decoder of other abstracts, because that is a more universal means for the students to have music in their daily lives, regardless of if they go on to the high school choir program, to the high school band program, or orchestra program. They'll always be able to take the knowledge they have from the music classes, specifically Rick and Derek's, but also any other music classes they have, and apply it to the music that they listen to in their everyday life and how they relate to music and vice versa. There's a slight differential between how Rick takes the direction Rick takes his program and the direction that Derek has his program. Derek's program, and somewhat through the unit lesson that we created along with Eileen and Dan, is very much using the GarageBand program to get at specific musical concepts, whether it be melody, harmony, rhythm through drum beats, a very Orff-like lesson, and that culminates into one large project. Rick's approach, on the other hand, focuses more on big picture things. There's 1 to 3 days of definition of musical terms, figuring out how to use GarageBand, brief glimpse into the periods of musical history, and then it's delving right into hands-on to the GarageBand program and creating loops and mixes or three-part compositions. The two biggest projects that Rick's kids do in the 30 days that they have him is a rescoring of The Lion King, a scene from The Lion King, and a rescoring of the scene from the Toy Story. And although they weren't working on that quite yet at this part in the semester, I will be going to observe and teach with Rick in 2 weeks, which will be a great opportunity, and they'll be working on these projects. So I'm really looking forward to that. I also observed the other music teacher at Hillside. We observed one of her general music classes, which does not involve the technological aspect and is not so compositionally centered as Rick's, but was still very interesting. It was very much centered around pop music. The lesson that they were doing was social messages within rock and roll. So it was very critical pedagogical in the sense that it was centered around music's reciprocal relationship with culture and society, and with the sense of morals and justice. It was a very interesting lesson. The kids were completely engaged, and I'm looking forward to working with Mariel as well. As far as my experience in the high school goes this week, I did not teach as much, if at all, this week, because I was having a bit of an existential dilemma in regards to where I come from and where John and his choirs come from, in terms of our identity as either a teacher or musician, and the balance between the two of them. Like I previously mentioned, my view values music as a decoder of the abstract more than music as an abstract in itself. And in the general music world, I'm very good at teaching because I have a very vast content knowledge of how music is a representative of other things, and I'm very connected to what my students listen to, as well as how I can translate what I know to what they know and create something new. While in the choral world, I can't lean on that information as much because it's so performance oriented, which means I need to lean on something that I'm not as comfortable using. And that's my musicianship. Although there are teachers who may not be able to play piano or may not be able to hear four parts at a time or may not be able to conduct and do one of those things at the same time, there's a base level of musicianship that's needed to not only begin teaching a choir, but to also um, adapt to the very, very quickly expanding zone of proximal development of high school students, especially John's students who are incredibly talented and want to succeed. Um, so at this point, John and I are working on my musicianship skills, which are I have used for middle school choirs, but at this level, I need to step up my game a little bit to get that base level musicianship up to where it needs to be. Um, on the flip side, the next week or so, I will be teaching all of the more generalized music classes at the high school, including AP Music Theory with the orchestra teacher, Mr. Joe Lalamia, and both sections of the music workshop, which is a basic introduction to music theory and music history. In one section, I'll be doing a lesson on sacred motets, and in the other section, I'll be starting on basic music notation reading. So reading the staff, identifying clefs, perhaps some scales, note values, etc. So I'll have some videos and lesson plans up for you this week for that, and I hope to sort out my existential identity crisis and grow as a teacher within the next couple of weeks. So enjoy.